Okay, for this screencast, I'm going to talk about finding short stories if your artist is a writer. If your artist is a writer and you have a novel that you've read or that you're reading, of course you can use that, but you might also consider short stories because you'll be able to read them in the next couple of weeks and digest them. So let's imagine that my author is Willa Cather, and I've started to do some research and I found some short stories that she's written that are pretty well known. I still might start by typing in Willa Cather short stories. And what you might find is that they actually pop up along here, and these are probably going to be the most famous ones. Remember, you're trying to kind of match up your primary sources to your secondary sources, even though you haven't done the secondary research yet. As you're looking for primary sources, you do want to be looking for ones that are more likely to have been written about in terms of scholarship, and those are probably going to be the ones that are more famous. So I think I have the best bet of choosing primary sources that other people will have analyzed if I pick the more famous ones. So let's say that I'm going to pick, and I've done some research and see I'm going to pick The Sculptor's Funeral. Okay, so if I go first, Wikipedia can tell me where it was originally published, which is going to be important for when I'm citing, and then here's the full text of it. So I'm going to open this in a new tab, and then I'm going to have the Wikipedia here. So in my tab, here's the short story. And I have the original publication information, which is going to be important as well. So if you have a printer, you could print this out at home and read it, highlight, underline, annotate. If you don't have a printer, you could print to OneNote and do annotating on there. And remember that the most important thing that you can be doing during this time is to actually be reading and understanding your sources, because that's going to be what produces the most well-written and knowledgeable research paper. When it's time to cite your short story, you're going to go into Noodle Tools and you're going to click on the project. And then I'm going to go to Sources and I'm going to create a new source. Now what you need to think about is, where did I find this source? Well, I found it on this website. So I'm going to start by clicking on website, but then where was this originally published? In McClure's magazine. So I'm going to go to magazine. So I'm citing an article or a short story from a magazine. So the URL is here. Remember, DOI is Digital Object Identifier. You can skip that unless you're finding something in a database that might have it. Access today. Name of container website is rarely included, so we'll skip that. Okay, now for the article or the story, the author in this case is Willa Cather. The story is called The Sculptor's Funeral. And the pages, it's unlikely that you would see pages, but actually in this case they do give them. It was 329 to 336. The name of the magazine is McClure's Magazine. It looks like 24. That could either be the volume or the issue. Looks like that was volume 24. Publication was January 1905. Okay, and then for the annotation, this is eventually where you'll write your annotation, which would include the summary of the short story and then also your key quotations. I'm going to skip this part for now, but you'll see an example of a completed annotation on the next slide. Include this in my final works cited, and then save. Now, it's also possible that the short story was originally published in a collection of short stories, not a magazine. In that case, even if you found it online, you would go to website, and in this case, you would say it's in an anthology or collection, and then just continue. And then one thing that you can do is add a tag and tag it as a primary source so that you can keep track. Here's an example for the people who are doing poetry. Here's an example if you're doing a short story. The tag primary to be able to keep track of it. And that's all that you have to do for a short story.